In this video tutorial, we're going to be talking about connecting from the Signage player to our servers. There's actually two different ways you can connect to our servers. One is via sockets and another one is via HTTP polling. So we'll review both and tell you the differences. So when I switch over here to stations, I can see that right now I have a player that's running out in the field, and I can initiate commands. I can play, I can stop, I can do live snapshots. All this communication is going to be done from this application to our server using HTTP over port 80. So taking a quick look at this diagram, we can see that any command that is sent from the Signage Studio on your personal machine will first reach our server, again using port 80 over just standard HTTP protocol. And from this point, the transmission of the stop command will propagate from the server to the Signage players installed out in the field. Now this communication right here between the servers and the player can be done via sockets or HTTP. Sockets is the default behavior, and that's how we try and connect. And sockets will allow you real live connections. So anytime you do a stop or a play or any type of command right here on the Signage Studio, this will propagate automatically onto the player and the player will execute that command. So using port 80 over socket traffic is the default behavior, and that's how we like to connect the Signage players to the server. And this will allow you immediate control over your players. Any command that you send, such as stop and play and live capture, would happen right away because you have a live connection between your Signage player and our server farm. Now in a perfect world, everything would go over sockets and everything would be perfect. However, if you have a very strict network, you probably have a firewall installed, and if you do, you will not be able to connect with a socket connection because a firewall would possibly block port 80 using socket traffic to our network. And if that's the case, we're going to have to use HTTP. Now, one drawback of using the HTTP protocol is that you don't have a live connection like you would with sockets. So again, if you were to send a stop command right here from the Signage Studio to our servers, this command will not reach our server right away, because remember, with sockets we have this two-sided connection that always exists. So again, a stop command would reach our players right away. But with the HTTP protocol, the Signage player actually polls our server every 60 seconds. This means that if you send a stop command, a play command, and a screen capture in sequence, only the last command, which in this case would be the screen capture, would get sent to the Signage player, and only within a 60-second duration. So as you can see, live socket and HTTP polling are both supported. The live socket is preferred if you can add rules to your firewall to access our specific servers, or if you don't have a firewall. But if you do, if you have a very secure network, then we do support HTTP polling as a backup as well. So how do you know if you're using the live sockets or are you falling back on the HTTP protocol? Well, if you have a green light right here on your station, it means that you're connected via the socket. However, if you have a yellow LED light right here, it means that you're actually using the HTTP protocol, and then you want to investigate why. Do you have a firewall on your actual Windows operating system on the Signage player? Do you have a firewall within your network or on the router? Do you have a proxy installed? So these are all the things that you can do to try and investigate and see why you have this yellow color right here. And again, we support both, and if you don't mind using the HTTP protocol and kind of waiting between each command, that's fine. We fully support that as well. And one thing to keep in mind is that if you are using the HTTP protocol, it can actually take up to 5 minutes to update the status of the Signage player from yellow to red if you had a disconnect. With the socket, this would happen much quicker, but again, because you're using the polling, it can take up to 5 minutes for this status to change. Please let us know if you have any questions, and thank you.